everyone, Stephanie here with a video for My Favorite Things. In today's video, I'm going to be recreating this fun underwater shaker card that was designed by design team member Keeway, and I'm going to be using products from the new May 2017 release. So to start off, I want to add ink to a white cardstock panel. So I have this sped up, and as you can see, I'm kind of going crazy with that ink. I have my whole desk kind of moving all over the place. But I'm just adding a bunch of ink to this panel. So I started with my lightest, brightest colors. So I have my cracked pistachio and my wilted violet. And then I'm going in with some blue shades with the blueprint sketch and the chip sapphire to kind of give this panel the look of water. And I'm kind of making sure as I add the ink that I don't have a lot of really dark ink. I wanted to keep my version of the card a little bit lighter in color, just so you can see the difference between the nice dark vibrant color that Keeway used and then kind of a lighter color palette. Same colors, but I'm just using a little less ink to make it a little bit lighter. And since we are using distress inks to add the color, we can add some water to that panel to give it a kind of a distress look. So you can see there when I put the water onto the panel and put the paper towel on top to soak up that excess water, it kind of gives it like a splotchy look. So it really gives it some added texture. And then this is a really great look when you're creating something like water because it really helps to make it look a little bit more realistic. So once I have the panel completely finished, I'm going to use the inside and out rounded corner rectangle frame stacks dynamics here, and I'm going to cut this right out of the center area of that panel. And what that's going to do is give me an inside piece here and then the outside piece. And we're going to use both pieces to create our shaker frame on this card. So I have a white card base here, and it's folded at the top there, and it measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And what I'm going to do first is adhere the center panel to the card base. So I'm just going to take my frame piece that I have there, and I'm going to lay that onto the card base, and I'm going to use that kind of as a template so I know exactly where to position the inside piece so that everything is going to line up when we adhere all the pieces together on the card. So I don't have any adhesive at all on the frame piece. I'm just holding that in place just to make sure that I put the center piece in, and then I'm going to remove that and I can start to put my stamped images onto the card. So to create the little fish and grass pieces that we're using on the shaker card, we're using 2 new stamp sets, the Ocean Pals and the Exquisite Ocean. And we're going to be using some of the grasses from the Exquisite Ocean and then some of the cute little fish and sharks and the crab and the octopus, a bunch of different little creatures for the inside panel. So for all of these, I've already stamped and die cut them just to save a little bit of time in the video. They're not any kind of crazy coloring. It's very simple. Most of these have just 2 colors on the images. And I just did some basic stamping to give them a color in a nice color palette that would match nicely with the background that we've created. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the grass piece and the little crab guy to the center panel, and I'm going to adhere those right onto that panel. And that's going to make it so that when I have the shaker pieces kind of floating around on the inside of the shaker, these pieces are going to stay stationary and they're not going to move at all. So I'm taking a white gel pen and I'm just adding a little bit of detail to these pieces. Don't be afraid to grab your white gel pen and kind of add dot details or lines. It's just a really great way to add a little bit more dimension and texture to your stamped images, especially solid images like those leaves. So once I have those on there, I can go ahead now and get the frame piece ready to assemble the shaker. So what I'm doing is just adding a piece of acetate to the back of that frame. So I just used my tape runner and added adhesive all the way around that. And now I'm just adhering the acetate piece directly on top. So now you can see I have this great window, and that's going to work as the top piece of our shaker panel. Now I did add a bunch of foam adhesive around that panel, so I have 2 pieces of foam adhesive thick just to give it a little bit of dimension. And now I'm going to fill in the center area where I want everything to kind of shake around. So I picked some of the smaller images, so I have the little fish images and the starfish. And I put a few sequins in there as well, not too many. I don't want to have a lot of stuff going on, especially because we have the crab and the plant already adhered there. And then we also have the fish images, which are a little bit larger than normal sequins in a shaker. So I adhered the frame onto the base, and now you can see when I shake it around, not only do you get the fun sequins moving, but you also have those fish and that starfish moving as well. So it's just really fun, just a really great way to use the image stamps in the stamp set. Now I love the way that Keeway kind of dressed up the front, and I thought it was so funny and like just a neat look to have that shark kind of peeking out from behind that plant. So we're not actually going to see his face, so I'm going to chop it right off. So you can see there I just took my scissors and completely removed it because we want it hidden under that plant, and it was a little bit too big. So I just cut it off, positioned the plant directly on top, and now it's this fun cute look of this shark image that's kind of swimming in behind that plant. So I just really love that and thought it was a fun design element. And then on the other side of the card, we're just going to add one more plant. So I positioned this right on the corner there, and I'm just going to trim off the excess with my scissors. And then I'm going to add the octopus up in the top corner. Before we add the octopus, though, we do want to do our stamp sentiment because it's going to be a strip sentiment that goes completely across the card. And we want to make sure that we have everything stamped and lined up before we adhere that octopus, since he's going to be over top of the sentiment banner. Now for Keeway's card, she used a black strip with white heat embossed sentiment. So I decided to change it up a little bit and just show you a variation and do a white strip with some black stamping. So I used the same sentiments that she used, You're Jossum and Happy Birthday. I love that You're Jossum sentiment. It's so funny. And I just think it plays really nicely with that shark that's kind of in the plant there. So I adhered that to the top of the panel, trimmed off the excess so I don't have anything hanging off the sides. And then I'm just going to take that octopus guy there and position him onto the card as well. And then I'm just going to trim off the excess from the side, and then our shaker card is complete. So we have this really fun underwater shaker card with all of this great imagery and the details kind of adhered on the inside, the outside, and then the fun pieces shaking within the shaker. So thank you so much to Keeway for creating such a fun card for us to recreate. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.